Hello there, very good evening and a warm welcome to the news live on Channel I. I'm Sharon Masgrenius.
A very good evening indeed. I am Charithak Prarachi and here are today's headlines. An extensive inquiry to be launched upon the orders of the President into irregularities alleged to have taken place in the Airbus transaction. Health authorities emphasizes that the coronavirus is not spread through food. The coronavirus death toll in China reaches 304. The chairman of the Election Commission says they are ready to hold the general election. Bushfires yet again alight in Australia. And now the news in detail, and starting off with local stories. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the relevant officials to conduct a full inquiry into the financial irregularities alleged to have taken place in the transaction between Sri Lankan Airlines and Airbus company in the procurement of aircraft. Reports alleging financial fraud committed by certain individuals in the transaction between the national airline and the Airbus Industries company appeared in a weak English newspaper today and on several websites yesterday. The President has ordered for an extensive investigation to be carried out into all aspects of the allegations and to report the results. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Sri Lankan Airlines has instructed the management to extend full support to the inquiries or litigation pertaining to the case. The chairman has instructed for all internal documents to be preserved and studied in the process of investigation the case.
In other stories, 71 patients suspected to have contracted the coronavirus were admitted to the National Institute of Infectious Diseases over the past week. Hospital Director Dr. Hasita Attanayake says, however, only the recently identified Chinese national was confirmed to have contracted the virus. Many of the patients were discharged after it was confirmed that they have not contracted the virus. Thereby, only 9 patients are currently undergoing treatment, and the Chinese woman who was suspected to have been infected by the virus is amongst them. The director of the National Institute of Infectious Diseases says the woman has now completely recovered. He further stated the OPD and all sections of the hospital are carrying out treatments as usual and called on the media not to carry misleading content. Consultant Dr. Hasita Attanayake said the Ministry of Health has provided all facilities required to treat these patients and there are no shortcomings. Dr. Attanayake called on the media not to propagate disinformation in this regard. Should there be any doubts, Dr. Attanayake advised the media personnel to consult with his team, confirm the details and then publish. Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in a tweet on his Twitter account extended his gratitude to the Chinese government, Sri Lankan Airlines, the defence units and all parties who assisted in getting down the 33 Sri Lankan students from Wuhan in China. The 33 students who arrived from the Wuhan have been retained at a quarantine centre at the Diyatalava Army Training Camp. Acting Director General of the Health Services Dr. Lakshman Gamlat spoke to the media on the condition of the students. He said the students are being examined every day and were inquired today, and none of them were confirmed to have been infected by the virus. Dr. Gamlat further stated the students are in good condition and after another 13 days they will be handed over to their relatives. Dr. Gamlat further explained that this disease is not transmitted through food but only through contact with the phlegm or an infected patient. Therefore, there is no need to have undue fear.
And a man has died of the coronavirus in the Philippines, the first confirmed fatality outside China. The patient was a 44-year-old Chinese man from Wuhan in Hubei province, where the virus was first detected. The World Health Organization said he appeared to have been infected before arriving in the Philippines. More than 300 people have died in the outbreak so far, the vast majority from Hubei. More than 14,000 people have been infected. The US, Australia and an increasing number of other countries have barred the arrival of foreign from China and are requiring their own citizens to be quarantined. The number of coronavirus cases worldwide has overtaken that of the similar SARS epidemic, which spread to more than 24 countries in 2003. But but the mortality rate of the new virus is much lower, suggesting it is not as deadly. The man travelled to the Philippines from Wuhan via Hong Kong with a 38-year-old Chinese woman who also tested positive last week, the Philippines Department of Health said. Officials said he was admitted to a hospital in the capital Manila, where he developed severe pneumonia. The man is thought to have had other pre-existing health conditions. Authorities said 45 more deaths were recorded in Hubei province by the end of Saturday, bringing the death toll in the country to 304. Nationally, there were 2,590 new confirmed infections. The total number of infections in China is now 14,380, state TV quoted to the National Health Commission as saying. Estimates by the University of Hong Kong suggested that total number of cases could be far higher than the official figures. More than 75,000 people may have been infected in the city of Wuhan, which is at the epicenter of the outbreak, experts say. State media report that a new hospital in the city will start admitting coronavirus patients from tomorrow. The US and Australia have said they will deny entry to all foreign visitors who had recently been to China, where the 2019 ncov strain of the coronavirus first emerged in December. Other countries including New Zealand, Russia, Japan, Pakistan, Iraq, Italy, Indonesia and Singapore also have announced travel restrictions. South Korea today said it would bar entry to foreigners who had recently visited Hubei. Australia said of any of its own citizens arriving from China would also be quarantined for 2 weeks. There have also been a number of evacuations from China as foreign governments work to bring their citizens back. Wuhan is in lockdown and other major cities across the country have suspended non-essential business. The mayor of the Huanghang, a city of 6 million people to the east of Wuhan, has warned that the number of cases there is set to spike to the coming days, state media said. Up to 700,000 people had returned to the city from Wuhan before travel out of Wuhan was banned. Huanghang and the Stetson city of Wenzhou have imposed draconian restrictions on the residents, only allowing one designated person per family to leave home once every 2 days to buy food and other supplies, Chinese media reported. Hubei officials have extended the Lunar New Year holiday to February 13th and said that marriage registrations would be suspended in an effort to discourage public gatherings.
In other stories, China has reportedly seen an outbreak of a highly pathogenic strain of H5N1 bird flu, which has killed 4,500 chickens thus far. The outbreak was initially reported in the southern province of Hunan, south of the epicenter of the coronavirus in Wuhan. And according to the reports, the Chinese authorities have already culled thousands of poultry in the wake of the outbreak.
As if health officials in China don't have enough on their hands with the spreading coronavirus, now officials announced an outbreak of bird flu. China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs announced Saturday an outbreak of a highly pathogenic strain of H5N1 bird flu at a farm in the southern province of Hunan. The virus was discovered on the farm with nearly 8,000 chickens. More than half of them have already died because of the outbreak. China is not alone in trying to tamp down the spread of this virus. Earlier this week, authorities in India started culling chickens and destroying eggs to contain the bird flu virus. And a different strain, the H5N8 virus, has spread throughout Eastern Europe in recent weeks. A bird flu outbreak in China back in 2013 ended up costing $6.5 billion in economic losses, according to UN experts.
Meanwhile, authorities in the Indian state of Odisha have started culling chickens and destroying eggs to contain the bird flu virus of the H5N1 strain. India has seen nearly half a dozen outbreaks of bird flu in poultry in past 2 decades, and all of which were brought under control. No human cases have been reported in India since at least 2003. Meanwhile, as an initial step in the government's program to purchase the 2019 and 20 Maha cultivation paddy, steps have been taken to provide 3,830 million rupees to the Paddy Marketing Board and to district secretaries. 1 kilogram of paddy is being purchased at a certified price of 50 rupees. As a special concession to the farmers, for the first time the government is purchasing paddy with moisture. At the previous cultivation season, the government has purchased paddy in which the moisture level level has been 14% or below. However, this time the government decided to purchase paddy of good standard with the moisture level up to 22%. Last year, a kilogram of Nadu paddy was purchased for 38 rupees, whilst a kilogram of Samba paddy was purchased for 41 rupees. However, this year, providing a high price for all types of paddy, the government will be purchasing a kilogram of paddy for 50 rupees. The storage is maintained by the Paddy Marketing Board, the Food Commissioner's Department and other government institutions, and storage facilities available at small and medium-scale rice mills have been prepared to store the paddy. Thereby, the Ministry of Finance, Economic and Policy Planning says it is possible to store large stocks of paddy.
And Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says the government is moving forward on a plan of making the local farmer a king instead of crowning the foreign farmer. He expressed these views joining religious observances at the Kurunagala Hiripitiya Dharmashara Pinivana. The Premier, after engaging religious observances, met with the Parivenadipati and obtained blessings. Chief Prelate of the Kasalaga Purana Rajamaha Vihara, Venerable Malsiripura Vimararatna Thera, and the Mahasangha imparted blessings on the Premier. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said the objective of the government is to systematically take forward the development and education of the country. The Premier pointed out there was a situation in which everything including rice and vegetables were imported. However, the Premier said they have changed the situation and decided on production within the country. The Premier says we do not need to beg from other countries. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa further stated the government's efforts are now not to crown the overseas farmers but to make the local farmer a king. The Premier also joined in religious observances at the Madhapula Jayanti Pirivana yesterday. A number of prelates, including Venerable Madhapula Sumangala Thera, were present. Prime Minister Rajapaksa, after joining in religious rites at the Polgol Sarananda Pirivana yesterday, met with Parivenadipati Venerable Dunuke Deniye Kusalada Matera and obtained blessings. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said over the past 5 years the cultural fund was destroyed. He noted certain temples were granted 40 million rupees in funds while certain temples were not granted even 5 cents. The Premier alleged that the monies of the fund were spent on building bridges. The Premier says the situation needs to be changed and the cultural fund needs to be strengthened to develop temples.
Meanwhile, Venerable Madhagodabe Thisathera says the nation should be appreciative of all units that extended their support to have the Sri Lankan students at Wuhan in China repatriated. The Thera expressed these views at an almsgiving held at Rajagiriya today. The Venerable Madhagodabe Thisathera said the students were securely escorted to the airport and after the flight arrived they were in a coordinated manner at the Matala airport, directed in the appropriate manner. The Thera said the plane has also been released in an appropriate manner. The Thera further stated the people who voted for the president are saying that justice has been done to the votes they casted.
And the circulars pertaining to the concessionary loan packages of 300 million have been revised to include the tourism sector. This move has been made upon a request tabled before the cabinet ministers by the Minister Prasanna Ranatunga. Thereby, the circular has been amended to include in the concession package businessmen engaged in the tourism sector as well. The circular has been issued with relevance to the concessionary loan package granted by the government to uplift small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga has pointed out to the Cabinet of Ministers that businessmen engaged in the tourism sector were not covered under the concessions package. Banks and financial institutions were reluctant to grant loans for businessmen engaged in the tourism industry since the circular was unclear on this area. The President and the Prime Minister had instructed for the relevant circulars and guidelines to be revised if such issues prevail. Thereby, the Minister said small and medium-scale entrepreneurs engaged in the tourism sector will also be benefited from the 300 billion concessionary loan package. The Minister tabled the proposal before the Cabinet of Ministers upon a request put forward to him by businessmen in the field recently.
The Central Environment Authority states the support of the public is necessary to successfully implement programs on the conservation of wetlands. The CEA makes notes of this in a release issued to mark the World Wetlands Day, which falls today. The theme of this year's World Wetlands Day is Wetlands Complete with Biodiversity. In the year 1971, the Ramsar Wetlands Convention was signed, and for the first time the World Wetlands Day was marked by the United Nations on the 2nd of February 1977. Currently, 171 countries have signed the Ramsar Convention. Rivers, tanks, farmlands, waterways, reservoirs, lagoons, deltas, mangroves and marshlands are defined as wetlands. These wetlands contribute immensely to the biodiversity of the living creatures. However, unauthorized landfilling, the disposal of construction waste, debris, solid waste, plastics and polythene and arson are some of the factors that threaten the sustenance of the wetlands. A number of wetlands covered under the Ramsar Convention are found in Sri Lanka, including Bundala, Kumana and the Vilpattu National Wildlife Parks. The Central Environmental Authority says a number of other wetlands will also be declared as conservation zones after a proper study. The national ceremony to mark the World Wetlands Day will take place at the Apegama premises in Batramulla under the patronage of the President tomorrow morning. The President's manifesto on the prosperous vision to build a country has also focused attention on this topic. At the national ceremony, a number of programs will be held, including the release of 10 stamps featuring trees and plants endemic to wetlands, whilst the Wetlands Sri Lanka magazine will also be launched. Meanwhile, the removal of polythene and plastic waste from 18 wetland zones commenced today with the intention of preserving the biodiversity of the Colombo city, which was declared as the first wetlands capital in Ramsar wards. The project was titled as Let Us Clean Our Wetlands and was organized by the Sri Lanka Land Development Authority. The machine manufactured by the Navy to remove plants in waterways was also handed over to the Land Development Authority.
And meanwhile, the chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, says that the Election Commission is prepared to hold a general election at any time. He made this comment after a ceremony held in Homagama today. Chairman of the Elections Commission Mahinda Deshapriya said starting from Monday, all officials of Election Commission, especially District Election Commissioners, Deputy and Assistant Election Commissioners, will be instructed to prepare for the general election. At the Election Secretariat, the relevant functioning are underway and the required printing activity, including the printing of forms, have been approved. The Chairman of the Elections Commission stated activities in this regard at District Office need to commence from Monday. However, the Elections Commission will not be functioning in acceleration as it not define it as to whether Parliament will be dissolved on the 2nd of March. He, however, further stated once Parliament is dissolved, the election needs to be held between 52 to 66 days.
The government is focused on merging the Kotte Sri Jayavarthanapura Vidyalaya and the Sri Jayavarthanapura Balika Vidyalaya in order to form a national school. This move is to be taken under the project to create 1,000 national schools. Minister Bandula Gunawardena announced this decision joining in an observation visit to the two schools today. The minister says these two schools, which are around 200 years old and are situated in a location of archaeological value, have been separated improperly. The minister said these schools have rendered an indispensable service over a long period of time to national renaissance, as it is the centric educational institute in the Kotte area which produced great intellectuals and bhikkhus with a high level of aptitude. The minister noted now the school is at poor level. He added that the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is changing the situation and is establishing trilingual schools equipped with all required facilities across the island in the project of creating 1,000 national schools. Minister Gunawardena added that therefore this school should also be transformed into a national school.
And meanwhile, the Ministry of Education states 15 schools will remain closed tomorrow due to rehearsals in view of the National Independence Day ceremony. Thereby, Colombo DS Seranayaka College, Royal College, Thurston College, Yashodhara Vidyalaya, Museus College, St. Bridget's Convent, Ladies College, Colombo International School and Visual International School will remain closed tomorrow. As security personnel participating in the rehearsals will be provided with accommodation until 5 p.m. on the 4th of February, Colombo Mahanama College, Polwata St. Mitchell's Boys School and Polwata St. Mary's Girls School and its junior school will remain closed. In addition, Bihidu Mahavidyalaya at Colombo 12, Al-Hidayah College at Colombo 10 and Ashoka College at Colombo 10 will remain closed from 9 a.m. tomorrow until night the following day. Separate days have been set aside to cover the subject content that will be missing owing to the school's closure. All preparations are underway to hold the 72nd National Day celebrations at the Independence Square with pride, but in a simpler manner. The year's theme is A Secure Nation, a Prosperous Country. Rehearsals for the ceremony took place at the Independence Square premises today as well. And a new sports update this evening. The Sri Lankan team returned to the island this evening after securing a victory in the Test series against Zimbabwe. The Sri Lankan side faced the tournament under the captaincy of Dimuth Karunaratne. Former Sri Lankan skipper Angelo Matthews hit a double century, and this is the first time a Sri Lankan batsman hit a dual century after many years. And now a quick update on your weather before we go. Weather department says that showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in Sabaragamuwa province and in Kaluthura, Nura, Eliagol and Mandara districts after 2 p.m. The Weather Department further stated that light showers may occur in eastern coastal areas. Wind speed can be increased up to 40 km per hour at times in northwestern province and in Hambantota and Mathura districts. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in central Sabaragamuwa and Uva provinces during the morning. And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Do it just tomorrow at the very same time.